All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip. And today I'm going to walk you through the best listing strategy for 2025, at least for me in my real estate business, for new client acquisition. So going after brand new listings. So this isn't counting like past client repeat referral business, but hey, I want to start scaling up new listings. What is the best listing opportunity? Best way to go out there and get new listings here in 2025. And at the end of the day, the best one is the one that's working for you, that you're going to do consistent with. There's a lot of great ones out there that's expired, FISBOs, the one I'm going to talk about today, divorces, absentee owners, which I'm going to talk about here today, pre-foreclosures, 30 plus day late, probate. Like there's so many great sources out there. But this is the one that is hands down the best, where we're seeing the best overall results for new client acquisition strategy. Divorces is kind of a second, is our second, but this is our first, and first for multiple different reasons. Highest conversion rates on conversational listing taken rate, but best because it's the only one where you really get a chance to win twice. And I'll break down and explain that what it means, but I'm getting a lot of listings, but I also get buyers out of it, right? So, which are good buyers, right? So that we want, especially in this tighter market time that we're experiencing. So I'm going to break this down here today. Now, first off, okay, like why are absentee owners so good? Now, I want to full disclosure here. These are not going to be good for all markets. For the vast majority of the country, these are great for markets like mine, especially. There's certain markets where they hit better than others. So for about 90% of the country right now, this is a great listing niche for. Now, there's about 10% that are maybe still in a seller's market. Things are still appreciating. Rents are still going up, still very low inventory. This may not be the best niche for you if that is your scenario situation. But for about 90% of the country right now, and especially pockets like California, Arizona, Texas, Florida, Georgia, there's certain areas where this is just a gold mine, right? So why is this such a good listing source right now? Okay, so in by these bigger markets in most of the country, we got prices coming down. So values coming down, so starting to soften, starting to decline. We got cap rate compressions happening for the first time in multiple decades. So rents are starting to come down. Then from there, we got hold costs starting to go up. So you got taxes, insurance, HOAs in some cases, costs of deferred maintenance going up. So who is an absentee owner? Absentee owners, when we're targeting absentee owners, these are going to be investors primarily, right? Like long-term buy and hold investors, short-term vacation owner rentals. So let's just look at short-term vacation rental owners, who's, part of it, kind of fall in the absentee owner bucket. You also get snowbirds, but when I'm talking about absentee owners, I'm really going after now. Snowbirds are also great. Like I want those too, because, cost of life's going up. They're on fixed incomes. A lot of them are having to kind of do away with the two market snowbird lifestyle. They're having to pick a home, so that's so I'm going after all of these. But let's start chunking these down. Okay. If you look at short-term vacation owner rentals, why is it a good market to go after them to get their listings? Well, over 50% of short-term vacation rentals that were acquired here in the US, were acquired post-COVID, became a big fad thing. So they bought when prices were at the peak. There were 70% plus occupancy rates, and dude, they're making good, good money, good cash flow. Now domestic travel with the economy's dropped off a cliff. Domestic travel is like 52%, so revenues are way down and the value of property is losing value. It's getting harder and harder to keep good rents in there, right? Starting to go negative. They're not already negative, whole costs going up. So it's just like, okay, now is a great time to sell at or close to peak pricing before things to get too ugly. Same thing with long-term buy and hold investors, which I'll get into all of this here as we start unpacking this, further. But this is why this is a great niche. And again, with absentee owners, you're going to have, they're going to be investors. Right. So whether it be a second kind of vacation home for them, or it's a short-term vacation home rental, long-term buy and hold. Those are kind of the two I focus on most, is long-term buy and holds, short-term vacation rental owners. But then, okay, you got some that maybe are just using this as a secondary home, like the snowbirds, like I said earlier, but again, even in that situation, which I get a lot of snowbirds in my market because they're on fixed incomes, cost of life going through the roof, right? A lot of them are having to make that decision that, hey, I can't do this, snowbird lifestyle anymore. I got to pick and choose a home. So it's good. It's a good overall market for going after all of them. And you hear me talk about this all the time. In this kind of low contraction environment that we're in, this this transaction contraction environment that we're in real estate, it's really important to be laser focused on who has the highest probability of needing our services. Now, the other thing that I love about absentee owners, which I'll go through as I go into scripting and how I do this, because I'm going to break down the whole script, where to get the data, all of that here. So you're going to be able to leave this podcast today with knowing exactly how to go out there and get these, right? Is okay. So when I'm having a conversation with them and they're not, hey, property's forming great, no interest selling. Okay, cool. Now I can transition that to seeing if they have interest in adding additional properties to their portfolio if they're an investor. So I'm getting great listings. I'm also getting relationships with great investor buyer clients. And look, I love buyers and sellers, traditional buyers and sellers. Like I love them all, right? But I really love investors because I get one good investor. That investor might buy 20 units every year like clockwork, right? So that's the why. Now I want to start breaking down, okay, where to get the data, the scripting, things to be prepped for with all of this. But real quick before I do so, look, if you are a real estate agent, individual real estate agent, team leader, broker, I don't care what level, brand new, I've been doing this 20, 30 years. Again, whether you're an individual agent, team leader, brokerage owner, and you are interested in learning more about partnering with me at EXP, I truly believe that we can do more together than we can apart, where you get 100% free access and to all my coaching, my support, my materials, my training, my mentorship, as well as my business partner, Mike Sherrard, who's the best in the world at helping real estate professionals grow their business through social media, through YouTube and AI. So you get 100% both of our training, coaching, support, mentorship, all 100% for free for you, for your agents, anybody that you end up adding to your organization, if you choose to partner with us at EXP. And on this call, what I invite you to is to schedule a quick 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure, 30-minute quick Zoom call with me. And by zero pressure, what I mean by that is, look, I'm not going to try to recruit you. I'm not going to push you, not going to pressure you. It's just, hey, let me walk you through everything that we do, how we work, how we operate, all the different things that we offer, answer any questions that maybe you have. And look, at the end of that call, if you believe that this is a better overall environment to help you accomplish your real estate goals, awesome. And if not, that is okay too. We can still be friends. There's going to be no hard feelings. I promise you that. Look, I don't want to roll with anybody that doesn't want to be here. So you're going to never get any pressure from me on this. Again, that's just an opportunity for me to explain what this opportunity looks like. If it's for you, great. If not, that's okay too. But I truly believe it is well worth your while to just jump on a quick 30-minute Zoom call. You got nothing to lose, everything to gain, potentially, if it's the right fit for you, but nothing to lose other than, 30 minutes of just seeing if this is maybe an opportunity for you. So if it's something that you want to take advantage of, there's going to be a link below. So wherever you're watching or listening to this, show notes or in the description, the top link is a link where you can schedule that. Again, 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure Zoom call with me personally, just a quick 30-minute Zoom call. So if that's something you have interest in, go schedule that call, and I really look forward to talking to you soon. Okay, so now let's jump back into absentee owners. So again, absentee owners talked about why they're effective. Look, if they want to sell at or close to peak pricing, and in certain markets, there's just markets where these are, like my market's really damn good. So I've got an 8% conversational listing taken rate with these, which is that's like, 3 times higher than we typically see with like expireds and FSBO. So it's a very great listing source because it's the first time we've experienced cap rate compressions in multiple decades. You got prices coming down, you got rents coming down, again, a whole cost starting to skyrocket. But then there's markets that are even far better than mine, like California, like Florida, because you have that much more intense insurance hikes. So their costs, kind of like operating costs, are going up that much more, when it comes to this. So there's even markets out there, like if I was in California, Florida, like I would be going full force on this, even though I'm still going full force on this in my market too. So great source to go after. Now, the first thing is, well, Josh, where do I get the data? So where I go get my data, and look, there's a lot of great data sources out there. You can go check with your local title company, check with your vendors, see if they have it, because free is always the best price. But where I get my data, if you can't, is a company called Super. So Super like Superman, M is in Mary, Power, supermpower.com. I don't do any affiliates. I don't get paid by you. It's just who I use. So yeah, I'm right. Just throwing that out there. So I don't want you to think, oh, Josh, you're getting a kickback. I get zero kickbacks. Just who I use to buy my data. They're a really good specialty data aggregator. Like I'm not going to use them if I'm buying like expires or FSBOs, but like, okay, absentee owners, people going through a divorce, bankruptcies, people 30 plus days late on their mortgage, like those kind of specialty data, that we need. They do a good job at collecting the data, putting through a skip tracer. Ends up being like 15 cents a lead, skip trace lead. Okay. So that's where I get the data. Then from there, now one thing to just be prepared for, is like you want to know your local market data, like what's going on with your market. So you'll see here in this script that I'm going to go through, like let's just say I'm calling absentee owners in Glendale, Arizona. Well, I want to know what's going on with the market. Yeah, right. So maybe we know that the market's declining because you're going to be prepared for questions. But I also want to know what's going on with the rental market so I can have a higher level conversation, about these things with them. So the other thing before I get into the actual script is just understand that, like, look, if you have a good call to answer rate, you're going to have to, so let's just say that's 10%, which is a good call to answer rate today. That means you're going to have to call each of these leads 10 times, have a conversation with them once. So don't just be like the one and done person. Right. If you want to get to conversions like I have, it's like, look, dude, like you got to be like, I'm going to be hitting these until I get them on the phone. And then based on how that conversation goes, there might be lots of follow up after that. So you got to make sure that your reach out process and frequencies in place, and then that your follow up process and frequencies in place, just like with any lead source. Like, hey, if you get a Facebook lead or open house lead or Zillow lead, and you're just thinking you're going to have one conversation with them and be done and just have high conversions, like, you're smoking crack, right? Like we all know that and get that. So that same thing applies here. Okay. So then from there, when I get them on the phone, let's just say their name is, I don't know, Joe, right? Hey, is this Joe? So I'm just going to walk you through the script. Hey, is this Joe? Yeah, this is Joe. Hey, Joe, this is just Joshua Smith here with eXp Realty. Hey, I know your time's extremely valuable. I promise I'll be quick. The reason for my call today is I noticed you have an investment property at 123 West Main Street here in Glendale, Arizona. And a lot of my investors that own properties here in Glendale are currently choose to sell a lot of those properties off due to what's going on with the overall economy and due what's going on with the overall local real estate market here in Glendale. And I just want to see if that's something that you've been at all possibly considering. And then I just pause and shut up. So I'll repeat that just so you guys can grasp that because I know you're kind of going fast. I might slow it down a little, but I'm not pre-framing these as high as maybe you see me talk about like expireds. Like I'm getting a little bit more to the point because these are typically more savvy, busy people. So hey, is this Joe? Yeah, this is Joe. Hey, Joe, this is just Joshua Smith here at eXp Realty. Hey, I know your time's extremely valuable. I promise I'll be quick. But the reason for my call today is I noticed that you have an investment property at 123 West Main Street here in Glendale, Arizona. And a lot of my investors that own properties here in Glendale are currently choosing to sell off a lot of those properties due to what's going on with the overall economy and due to what's going on with the local real estate market. And I just want to see if that's something that you've been at all possibly considering. And then just pause and shut up. And even if it's a couple second pause, like don't jump at, like let them, I give, like sometimes there's power in the pause, right? And that usually goes one of two ways. Nope, no one's just selling. Right now, here's why this wins twice, because you're going to get this exponentially more than you get the, oh yeah, right. So, but this is why this wins. Like, look, I'm getting great listings out of this, but I'm even getting more so great investors on the kind of purchase acquisition side. So they go to me, nope, no, selling properties for them, great. Okay, great. Appreciate that. Glad to hear the properties forming great for you. Hey, just real quick, Joe, out of curiosity, before I let you go, if I could find you other investment properties that perform as good, if not better than this one, would you have some interest in adding additional properties to your portfolio? So would it be okay with you if I just emailed you over any great properties I come across? Like any decently savvy, sophisticated investor says yes to that. So if I'm pounding these phones all day, like it's not uncommon. Now I'm going to vet my investors, like my buyer investors. Like I want to make sure what I call professional investors, not wannabe investors. There's nothing wrong with wannabe. Like everybody begins somewhere, but I'm going to manage my time. Like I want to make sure that they know their buy box, they got funding in place, they have clarity on this stuff. They can describe very clearly, precisely what a deal is like for them, meaning their buy box. They have their funding in place. So if I'm going to go out there and do what it takes to find a great deal in this market, like outside of maybe like structural things, or like they're going to act on this market. Or act on this property. So I'm vetting them, right when it comes to that. But I'm adding buyer investors, to my overall arsenal from this. And like I said earlier, look, I love working with traditional buyers and sellers, helping them accomplish their real estate goals, but investors are great too. And you want to be able to have investors, you want to be able to, be great with investors, but also be great with traditional, because sometimes certain markets, one are better than the other, sometimes they're both great. The thing I do like about investors though, is it increases your overall velocity of transactions per customer. Like I get one good investor, okay, they might be doing, 20 deals a year. We had one institutional investor from 2012 to about 2022 where we were doing like 20 units a month with this one investor. It's dried up since interest rates, whatever, they've decided to put things on pause, but there can be a lot of, volume through your investor clients. You also don't have the emotions, right? It's just like, hey, do the numbers pencil out, right? It could be, nice change up in business there. Then from there, right? So that's those that say no, and you're going to get more of those than not. But then when they're, then when people are leading towards yes, well, it starts leading to the question, because if you can see that script there, that script is a very curiosity creating script. The reason for my call today is I noticed you have an investment property at 123 West Main Street here in Glendale, Arizona. A lot of my investors that own properties in Glendale are currently choosing to sell a lot of those properties off due to what's going on with the economy and due to what's happening with the local real estate market. And I just want to see if that's something that you're possibly considering. Because you got to understand that most of the investors out there aren't these big institutions. They don't own 100 units. It's a lot of people that just, bought a couple properties, to help fund retirement or whatever. So, it creates curiosity where I get, a lot of times I get and this is where you want to be prepped with the data, right? Where it's well, why are other investors selling off? Well, here in Glendale, Arizona, we got prices coming down by X. So this is where you want to know what your numbers are. So, prices have come down 11% in the last, or 6% or 3%, whatever that percentage is. So if prices are coming down, so we got prices currently coming down in the market. Now, rents have also decreased 8% year over year, and we haven't seen a floor yet for that. They're continuing to drop. So we got prices coming down, we got rents coming down at the same time. We got whole costs continuing to go up with taxes and insurance and cost of deferred maintenance. So a lot of my investors are just thinking that, hey, maybe now's the best time to sell at or close to peak pricing, but before the situation gets too ugly. So then now I can lead into that right now with these, and I'm going to walk you through kind of what I do and how I set the listing appointment with these. Is for me, I do Zoom listing appointments with these. Yeah, right. Like, and I treat this more as like a, just like a online consultation versus like a listing actual presentation, right? Like it's just more like an audit, like a property audit. So then when I share that with them, so you got prices coming down, rents coming down, whole costs going up between tax and insurance. A lot of my investors are just choosing that, are thinking that, hey, maybe now's the best time to sell at or close to peak pricing, but before things get too ugly. And look, it may make sense for you to sell, may make sense for you to hold this property or keep this property. I don't know which path makes sense for you. So how about we do this? If you're open to it, I got some time tomorrow, or maybe we can schedule a Zoom call. And in the meantime, I'll go out there and run all the numbers, both on the rental side, as well as what it would look like if you were to possibly consider selling. That way, on the call, we could do a deep dive into those numbers, provide you with all the information, what's going on with your specific property, what's going on with the market, with trends that we're seeing. This way, you have all the information that you need to make your best informed decision. I got tomorrow at 2 o'clock Pacific time. Does that work for you? And we can do a deep dive in these numbers and just again see what might make the most sense for you. Yeah, that works great. Yeah, right. So then we jump on that. Now, here's the thing that might come to as a surprise to some, whatever, when I say this. Of course, I want the listings, but I look at this like, dude, like you're not going to talk anybody into selling. And I don't believe in manipulating anybody or deceiving anybody. I believe in always like clients always before commissions. My whole entire career, I've always operated that way, and I truly believe in that. So, hey, if maybe we run the numbers, maybe it makes most sense for them to hold the property. Okay, well, then now I can have a conversation about their long-term real estate goals. If they have interest in adding additional properties. I'm trying to develop this long-term relationship. Yeah, right. Or okay, at some point, like everybody's going to buy or sell. Right. So at some point, when would it maybe make sense to sell? So I'm working that relationship with them. So I'm going into that kind of audit with them. I'm not trying to go in there and get their listing. Yeah, I'm trying to go in there and make sure I've got all the numbers, all the data, all the details to discuss with them. It's also helping build trust and build us to that authority expert and build that long-term trust, because I want to be that go-to resource, for them. And what I found is most investors have other friends that are investors, and it just starts to catapult, with this. So I'm not going in this like, oh, I'm going for the close on the listing side. No, I'm here to, just like with any buyer, seller, investor, it's like, hey, my job is to provide them with all the information that they need to make their best informed decision. I'm here to serve, support, and help, regardless of what that decision is. So when I go into those, like we're just having great conversations about the property, whatever. And look, these are, typically very savvy people. Like you're not going to talk them into selling even if you try. Like either the numbers make sense for them to sell or they don't make sense. If they make sense, great. If not, okay, now we have a follow-up protocol where we'll stay in touch with them. Yeah, I always offer an annual audit for them on that property and their portfolio with them to stay in touch with them. And then we can have a conversation on, growing their portfolio, other properties that they want to go out there and acquire, what this looks like, and just repeat that process. So that's the overall script, overall process. And again, the reason why this is such a great listing source is not only is it the highest converting from conversational listing taken rate source that we're seeing right now, it also is, the best listing source to win-win, right? You get listings, you get buyers out of it. The other thing that I love about it too is because I'm doing all my listing presentations via Zoom, it's just much more effective. It's much more efficient. So I'm never even visiting the properties until it's like, dude, like it's pretty much a done deal. Like I got the listing, right? So also allows me to expand my market territory because maybe it's in a zip code that's 45 minutes or an hour away from the traffic. Maybe I typically wouldn't, focus on that area with my lead gen and whatnot. But here it's like, because again, I'm not having to visit the properties and I can send a runner out, to go take the photos. So I don't even have to visit the properties at all, right? So it just allows me to also, it's just more effective, efficient, and expanding that market territory, and whatnot there. The other thing I like about it is, dude, I don't really have bad conversations. I don't really get anybody screaming at me, yelling at me, telling me to F off. They're like good conversations, right? Which is kind of a breath of fresh air sometimes in this industry when versus like calling, pre-foreclosures when you become a human punching bag at times. It's nice to have these, niches where it's like, worst I ever get is nope, property's performing great. No, right, where I'm able to pivot that, with that. So hopefully this is helpful. So now you know where to get the data, again, make sure that you're nailing the frequency, the follow-up frequency, the scripting, all of that. Now, again, if you have interest in partnering with me or learning more about partnering with me at EXP, not saying that you got to partner with me at EXP. What I'm saying is and recommending is that you're open to just having a conversation about what this opportunity looks like and what it potentially could be. And if it's a fit for you, great. If not, that's okay too. But on this quick 30-minute Zoom call, I'm just going to walk you through. Here's what we do. Here's how we work. Here's how we operate. Here's all the things that we offer. Here's how we can support you. Answer any questions that you have. And at the end of the call, if you feel that this is a better overall environment to help you accomplish your real estate goals, great. If not, that's okay too. But if you want to learn more and jump on this quick 30-minute Zoom discovery call with me to learn more about what a partnership with me at EXP looks like, where you get 100% full free access to all my coaching, all my support, all my mentorship, all my training, as well as my business partner, Mike Schroer, who's the best in the world at social media, AI, and YouTube, helping real estate professionals grow their business through that way. Love to have that conversation with you. So there's going to be a link below. Wherever you're watching or listening, this will be the top link. So show notes or description where you can click on that, schedule a 30-minute, 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure Zoom call with me. So you're not going to be recruited, not going to try to push you or pressure you again. I think I already talked about that. Just a chance for us to have a conversation about what this opportunity looks like. Look, I wish to God I would have been more open-minded about this opportunity. I wish to God that somebody would have explained it to me in the right way. I had so much resistance to this model for 10 years, and biggest regret of my life was not being open-minded, looking at this model, seeing this model, 10 years ago, because my life would look so much different. And whether an individual agent, team leader, or maybe you're like me that's looking at leveraging this to build a brokerage inside of a brokerage, my vision and goal is to develop 40,000, build a 40,000, agent network inside of EXP. So I'm building a brokerage and a brokerage. Yeah, right. So whatever level that you're at, it's just, to me, it is the best vehicle that exists hands down in the real estate industry to help us go out there and explode our real estate business, but then also truly create time freedom, financial freedom, money freedom, all those components. I've never seen a vehicle like this. So if it's something that you want to, again, jump on a quick 30-minute discovery call with, be happy to do that with you and walk you through that. I'd be honored to. So go ahead and click that link below. Hope to talk to you soon on that call. And I truly appreciate all of you watching and listening. I hope that this was helpful. Keep crushing it. Keep kicking ass. And I will see you next time. Peace.